Hey everyone. If you're anything like me, you've been reading about some of the articles about the last SHOT Show that was out and some of the cool and interesting things. And I saw some really cool stuff, especially from Bond Arms. I'm a big fan of Bond Arms products. And then I see a lot of kind of the same old, kind of like the polymer guns. And everybody's just putting the other guy's twist on their gun, it seems. And it's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, they have nice firearms. And you know they fill an important void when it comes to personal protection and sporting uses, recreation. But I kind of like things that are a little vintage and older. And lately, especially, I've been really leaning toward like single shot Thompson contender type handguns, revolvers, Derringers, things of that nature. And that made me think about a handgun I picked up a while ago, and that is this one right here. This is an Ivory Johnson revolver in 38 Smith & Wesson. Now, as you might notice, it's a top break revolver. I assume that most of you are familiar with top break revolvers. If I look at my stats on here, I notice that I have a lot of viewers between 30 and 70s basically. Not as many younger viewers like in their 20s and stuff. But for those who really aren't up on firearms history or just kind of missed this, basically this is a double action revolver. This is a double action revolver where instead of the cylinder swinging out to the side like you would expect in a typical double action, it actually breaks open on the strap, and there's a little switch here. You pull the switch up, and then it just breaks like this. And then as it opens, the ejector rod comes out. You can remove your spent casings. It goes down, nice and easy to load, and you snap it back in place. So the only new designed top break revolver I've seen in a while is the North American Arms Ranger, which is a cool gun, and I'd like to get one. Problem is, they start at about $520, $530 MSRP for the basic version. And, that's kind of like a little teeny tiny gun. I mean, it would be really cool if something was made that was a little bit bigger. Now, Uberti and Taylor, they make some older styled ones, and those are pretty cool. I like those, but they're also pretty pricey. And they just basically look like replicas of the older guns. And I'm just thinking how cool it would be to have like a modern day revolver that just happened to be a top break. Now, I've been looking into this a little bit, reading some articles and stuff. Haven't seen much in the way of videos actually, but I was reading some interesting articles. And one of the reasons why top breaks fell out of use is because of smokeless powder. Now, this particular handgun I have in front of me right now, I believe it was made around 1930. When I first purchased it several years ago, I actually had it researched, like what year it came out. I checked the model number and everything, but I believe it was around 1930. Could be a little off on that. Now, smokeless powder was around then, but this particular one is 38 Smith & Wesson. So you don't have the pressures with 38 Smith & Wesson or, in like 32 Smith & Wesson that you would have with some other rounds, like let's say 357 Magnum, 41 Magnum, 44 Magnum. So that wasn't a concern with these, and I'm sure that strap at the top and the locking mechanism held up just fine. The problem is if you try to put something like a 357 Magnum, you're going to have an issue because of those high pressures. That's what I read in the limited amount of stuff I could find from them, and it makes pretty good sense. But I kind of wonder why we haven't seen anything designed, say, for 22. I think a larger size 22 would be awesome. Kind of like the Ruger LCR, I believe. LCR. The Ruger LCR, like around that size, but like a top break. Trying to think of what else. Like Taurus, like M85. I'm sorry, my Taurus 942. Something like that, because you figure you're not going to get those high chamber pressures in a 22 LR, 22 Magnum. That would be pretty cool. And again, not that this would be a big consumer hit, but I mean, even with a 32, it's semi-rim, so you could put that in a revolver also. But of course, I don't think you're going to see a ton of people wanting to buy a 32 revolver. 22, I could actually see happening. 22 Magnum, I can see. And if they could beef it up a little bit, I could see 38 Special being a hit, especially when you consider a lot of people who like 38 Special like revolvers, obviously, because you're basically can shoot it in almost exclusively in revolvers. So it would be a pretty good idea, I think. I think it would probably get a lot of interest because the saying everything old is new again. This is one of those things that I think would interest people who enjoy history and the history of firearms. I think it would interest people who like things that are a bit unique, which I fit into both of those categories. And the other thing is, I think it could actually be pretty good to load and unload because I got to be honest with you. Sometimes with revolvers, you try and load sometimes in here and various parts of the gun might get in the way of speed loaders. I actually think having a mechanism to load it this way at the top would be pretty good. I think it could actually work really well with speed loaders or speed strips, and with practice, I think it could be as fast or maybe even faster than a traditional side opening double action. So, if any of you product guys are watching from Smith and Wesson or Colt or Ruger, could you please take my idea? I don't require any credit or anything, but could you please make a top break revolver? Because I think it would just be awesome, and you can sign me up for the first purchase. Just try not to make it too expensive. And like I said, I think 22 LR would be awesome for something like that because it really wouldn't require any substantial redesign. Like I said, I would think because of the pressures in it and stuff. But I did read that there were actually a couple of attempts to like resurrect it in more potent rounds. Like there was one that I read about. I want to say the company was called Detonic. It was like 1985. They tried to make one that would fire 357, 41, and 44 Magnum, but it never ended up making it to market. That would have been something to see. And they were looking at different ways of basically breaking the cylinder. So pretty cool stuff there. So like I said, I know the technology's there to do it this different way. Now I don't see them ever making something like a 500 Magnum or anything out of it because obviously the frame for those has to be pretty insane. But I don't know. I think a 38 would definitely be possible. Maybe even a 44 special. And like I said, I have no doubt. I mean, if North American Arms can make a top break for a 22, little teeny tiny 22, I'm pretty sure that any major firearms company could make a really cool top break revolver with really not much work. Like I said, it's not like you're trying to make a revolver for like a 460 or a 500. I mean, I can understand how that would be very difficult with what it has to stand up to, but for a smaller caliber, I got to tell you, I think it would be a great novelty for some people. I think it could be very useful and just a really interesting thing. I mean, I'm to the point right now where I just don't have any interest in buying like a traditional polymer handgun. I have them. I think they're very good. They have an important place in firearms, but it's just not something that really grabs my interest anymore. It's kind of like I've been there, done that. And something like this, I think it would probably stir a lot of excitement in a lot of firearms owners. And by the way, if I forgot to mention it before, this is an Ivor Johnson, an Ivor Johnson revolver. It was made in. They were located in Fitchburg, Mass, at the time. So pretty cool. You can pick these up sometimes for various prices. I think when I bought this, it was only like $70, and it actually works. Lockup is good. Everything was just fine on it. Like I said, for $70, I got it about maybe 7 years ago. But sometimes you can pick them up under $100, and they're perfectly functional, believe it or not. And sometimes you can pick them up in some gun shops where they want like $300 or $400 for them. A little crazy. But anyway, just talking out loud because I think you guys are the only ones who don't mind. But I will talk to you later. Have a good one.